All right, I'd like to welcome you to the syllabus video here for the Interdisciplinary Theology Seminar. My name is Dr. Brian Tucker. I'll be the instructor for the course. I think most of you have had me for classes either in the modular setting or here in Michigan, but a few of you haven't, and so I look forward to spending some time with you at the end of your studies and to be able to see how you have developed and progressed throughout your time here at Moody. The course, Interdisciplinary Theology Seminar, is different than pretty much any other course you've taken. It's a capstone course for the MDiv Pastoral Studies. In other words, we're looking to evaluate how we've done as a faculty through our curriculum. One of my roles here at Moody is the program head for the MDiv, and so I use the course for multiple purposes. One is to cover the course description, obviously, and so it looks to bring in insights from different aspects of the curriculum, Bible, theology, and applied theology or pastoral studies. But I also use it to evaluate the MDiv program. And so there's a portion of the class where we spend time discussing the MDiv and your experiences. And so you have that part of the class also is involved in you being able to defend your faith and kind of make a statement for what you believe. And so in those situations, those are oral exams, and those are done there in Chicago as well. The nice thing about this class is it brings Chicago-based students and Michigan-based students and modular-based students together, and so we have a unique time there. There's not much that I do in terms of lecture. So it's not a lecture class, it's a seminar class, which means the content and the preparation that you put into the class makes this class successful or not. I do some based on some areas that I observed throughout the week, and I usually reserve that for the last part of the week so that we can make sure that we get everybody's papers covered. So if you'll grab your syllabus, hopefully you've logged into Blackboard and pulled that syllabus down. And I'm reading from version 2. This is about a week before the class starts on January 16th. There could be changes to the class based on enrollment numbers, and but I think as of right now we're at about 14, which is a little bigger than normal, but it's about right. And some of the times and those types of things could adjust based on increase or decreased enrollment numbers. All right, so I'm based here on the Michigan campus. My office hours are from 12 to 2 Eastern time, which is 2 to 3 Central time. What that means is that's where I try my best to clear out my schedule to be available for immediate response, whether phone call or email, or coming in the office for those that are Michigan based. But I'm here pretty much every day, so you're going to be able to respond to me or email me, and I can respond pretty quickly, other than just those times. Class goes from January 16th to May 5th. We'll meet there March 13th through the 17th. I know some of you may have gotten a week later. Originally, I'm not sure what happened with that. The schedule that I was given had that, and then a later schedule gave me these dates. These are the correct dates, so March 13th to 17th. All right, so let's look at the syllabus. The Interdisciplinary Theology Seminar. The course is a capstone course addressing selected issues of exegetical, practical, biblical, and systematic theology. It includes discussion and presentations of research. There's significant prereqs for the course, obviously your Cis-Theo sequence and your Greek and Hebrew exegetical courses, because you're expected to engage the biblical languages. If you want an A in the course, you'll need to do that. If you don't, then don't be surprised that you don't get an A in the course, because this is a capstone for your biblical language material as well. In terms of the objectives, at the conclusion of the course, the student will, 1, communicate research findings that include complex information and detailed argument in a clear and orderly way. You will present papers, or present a paper here in class, and then you will have to defend your paper to the rest of the class. Next, make professional and academic judgments in a critical but constructive analysis of peer research and presentations, observing professional and academic codes of conduct. So I'm not only observing the person presenting, but I'm observing the questions that are being asked. Some of you, this is always a challenge because you're a little more quiet or whatever, but you got to put yourself out there and ask questions. And so I pay attention to who asks questions and who doesn't. Next, reflect critically and decide on current theological issues by recognizing theological and ideological presuppositions, identifying hermeneutical and exegetical approaches, assessing argumentative strengths and weaknesses, and noting the ministry implications of various theological proposals. In some ways, this is the content of the questions. So in other words, you're not just asking surface level questions, but you're actually anticipating or thinking through the implications of what's being presented. Next, express a detailed knowledge of the major areas of theology covered in the MDiv curriculum and how they interface with Christian ministry based on a wide range but critical study of relevant literature and research results. Part of this is your papers that you write, but it's also involved in the ability to answer questions in the oral setting that we do there together. In terms of textbooks for the class, you have two that are required. First is Anthony Thistleton's Systematic Theology, and here is what you're going to draw from for your first paper. And then the second one is Thistleton's Companion to Christian Theology. And these books work together. Obviously, you can tell in comparison to others, this is very thin. This one is not as much. In some ways, this is a good synopsis, and this one then builds on some of the details that need to be covered that are kind of overlooked from that one. And then your Logos Bible software as appropriate. All right, so let's look at the requirements on page 2. Seminar paper, 100%, 75% of your grade is the first paper, and then 25% is the second. Seminar paper 1. Systematic Theology Seminar Paper in Defense. It is due March 6th. Now notice we start on March 13th, but the paper is due a week before. All right. That gives me time to assess the paper ahead of time to determine questions that need to be addressed, and gives your classmates a chance to read the paper. Makes for a more efficient and enjoyable time when we've all had a chance to read the paper and not going at it cold. If you're late with the paper, obviously you don't hit that deadline. Then you need to see the late policy on page 4, section H. Each assignment has different requirements, so pay attention to what's written there. Otherwise, the following applies: written assignments and projects are to be submitted, which are submitted late, and which are accepted by the instructor, though I'm not obligated to accept anything that's late, will be reduced by a minimum of 5% of the total assignment points per day. So this is again your capstone. There's no excuse at this point for being able to get anything late. You've had an entire MDiv curriculum to learn how to do things and get things done on time. Part of this class is to help you understand that Sunday comes twice a week. As in pastoral ministry, you finish Sunday service, you got to get ready for the next Sunday. You can't come in on Sunday morning and say, "Oh, well, I didn't have a chance to get everything done, so I'll see you all next week." So you won't be able to get an A, in other words, if it's late. And so keep that in mind. So the student will write a research paper, now back on page 2, on the topic of his or her choice, dealing with the subject matter discussed in one of the 15 chapters of Thistleton's Systematic Theology. Okay, so you'll need to find a topic that's related to something discussed here. All right, and then you'll need to interact with it. You can't just pick something that you want to talk about and then just go with it. In the paper itself, footnote, interaction, show me the explicit places where you deal with Thistleton. All right, I'm going to give you 2 example papers, and so everything in those papers doesn't mean that's what you should follow. I have not yet received a perfect paper, and if the example paper doesn't explicitly engage Thistleton, that paper may have lost points, and so just keep that in mind. You don't use the example papers that I give you to say I'm going to do exactly what they do. You need to be doing better than what the example papers that I give you have done. So the paper is 7 to 9 page, single spaced, 12-point font, 1-inch margin. Paper must be carefully researched and evidence master's level critical thinking, have a clear thesis with sufficient warrant, and be able to defend it. Be of journal quality, correctly follow Turabian form, well organized, and cogently argued in good English grammar and style. The paper will be read during the modular week, and a copy must be uploaded to the Blackboard area as its assignment. Okay, that's where I go to grade it. And then you're also going to upload the paper to the class discussion board. So you're going to do 2 uploads. And you do those by March 6th so that everyone has time to prepare. After that, you can't revise. What you submit, that's what's graded, that's what everybody reads. So you don't come in to the week itself and want to read a different paper than what you've given everybody else. Okay, I won't let you do it. If you do it, I'm going to stop you, because that's all I'm going to have. And once I see that you're reading a different paper, then I'm going to stop you. You're going to be required to read what you uploaded. So don't try to do any kind of revision. That's your paper, what you upload on March 6th. The reason you upload it in 2 places, one is the Blackboard part is the part that's being graded. Students don't have access to that. I only have access to that. So you have to upload it in the public area for the students to have access to. So a student will then field questions after the presentation. After questions concerning the paper, the student will then field questions concerning their beliefs on the broader field of systematic theology. Now, there'll be 2 different ways that this will go. One is you'll do it right there, or you'll do it later in the week. It'll most likely be later in the week once we get all the papers done. But it just seems to work better. But I don't make that decision until I see how the class is going. So it'll either be right there after your paper in the discussion, or it'll be separate from that. And most likely it will be a separate time during the week. The length of the discussion will be based on the size of the class, right? And so you have, this is a beard class, so that may be less discussion than we would have otherwise. But I'll let you know more about that as we get closer. Note, and this is very important, include a statement in the appendix stating if and how much of the required textbook you read. You're required to read all of it, to take notes, and to be ready to discuss the book's contents throughout the week. I'll be doing spot checks on the reading, and I expect you to have read it and have taken good notes. And at any given point throughout the class, I can call on you to lead a discussion of the book. So you need to be prepared. And make sure you take good reading notes and you have those with you with regard to Thistleton's systematic theology. All right. This is crucial. I will not offer any ideas for a topic. Don't ask me if it's a viable topic. If you send an email and say something about a topic, I won't even respond to the email. I'm just going to delete it. Okay? You're completely on your own to come up with a viable topic and a viable thesis statement. All right. So you basically will have the 7 to 9 pages single spaced. That gives you roughly 20 minutes in terms of the reading. It may be a little shorter than that depending on what I say later. And then that leaves us roughly 10 minutes for discussion. 7 to 9. That does not mean 10. It does not mean 11. It doesn't mean 20. It means 9. Single spaced. Keep it to that. If you're smart, you shoot for the 7 because then you have a little more time to read. If you go with 9, you got to read faster during the presentation because when the time limit hits, I stop you even if you're not done with the paper. So practice ahead of time. Make sure you have your time as of right now to 20 minutes. If it changes, I'll let you know on that. If it changes, meaning shorter, not longer. So make sure you can read your paper in 20 minutes. If you have a hard time reading publicly, then your paper needs to be shorter, okay? Because you're going to read slower. That's what you just have to deal with, and that's how you need to structure it. That's your first paper. All right. So the example that I'm going to give you, this one here, is by Bruce Henning, who graduated last year, had the exact same assignment that you did, and he has graduated and gone on to PhD studies now. And so you'll notice quickly there's a couple things that he did not do. He did not single space, he double spaced. There are other issues that you'll see with the paper. This is not, as I mentioned, a perfect example, but it was one of the better ones. Okay, and but it'll help you. All right. Seminar paper 2. Okay, so seminar week will be done, and then you're off and running the post-course work. Here you're doing a Christian theologian paper. Right? You're going to pick someone that is discussed in Thistleton's Companion to Christian Theology, and you're going to do a paper on this, paying attention to primary sources, not secondary sources. So after reading 400 pages on your own, choosing in Thistleton's Companion to Christian Theology, you're going to record the pages or topics you read. You must read 20 articles on persons or theologians and include them as an appendix to a 7 to 9 page paper that you will write on an individual listed in the book. This paper again is single-spaced, 12-point font, 1-inch margin, and must be carefully researched and evidence master's level critical thinking, have a clear thesis, which is sufficient warrant to defend it, be of journal quality, correctly followed Turabian form, well organized, cogently argued in good English style and grammar. Make sure the paper ends with implications drawn from this theologian for today's ministry setting. Note the professor will not offer any ideas for theologians. You must decide your own viable one. And you cannot pick one that is not in Thistleton. Okay, and that will be due May 5th. The example paper that I'll give you, again, comes from Bruce. It was on John Nelson Darby, and shows good evidence of what I wanted to see in terms of good interaction with primary and secondary sources. Again, did not single space, he double spaced, but he did a good job in doing the reading log and those kind of things that you'll see there. And so those will be sent to you as PDFs with Bruce's permission. So hopefully maybe you'll do good work and I can use yours as examples next year. Grading policies. All right, so this is straightforward in terms of the what you've gotten used to in terms of the grading scale. Attendance policy, it's expected in class. Obviously, we're there in the modular week, and but if something happens, sickness or something like that, make sure you communicate to me during the week as well. Plagiarism. I hate to have to do this, but it's just the reality of what we deal with. Every class, somebody is caught plagiarizing for this course. Don't try to buy a paper off a web service. Don't try to use some website and cut and paste. I check and I find every class somebody who plagiarizes. And if you fail the assignment, that's 75% of your grade. It's impossible for you to pass. Okay, and so that means you've got to do something else to graduate. For those of you that are finished getting ready to graduate, do your own work. That's the point of this class. And there's no recording during the class itself. Like I said, there's very minimal lecture, though I will do some based on some observations that I make and some things that I might be interested in talking about. But any material that's used in the class is only for the class, and whether it's my material or other students' material, don't use any of it without permission. I just had this week a person pull some of my material and go and use it without my permission on the internet, and it's very disconcerting. Use material with integrity. If you have a proven learning disability, make sure that we have the information and sent to me, and we can make the adjustments that we have to. It's difficult depending on what's going on there, but we can try our best to work with what we have to. Next page, connection with MDiv outcomes. The course seeks to accomplish and evaluate. The student will be able to articulate major biblical doctrines on systematic theology consistent with biblical orthodoxy. Okay, and so your paper and your verbal defense of your positions, measure that, and a copy of the paper will be included in your portfolio as a line of evidence that this has been achieved. So especially your first one, obviously. No food in class, no social media or smartphone use. I can't stress this enough. There is no food or drink. We're going to be around a table, okay? We're all in close proximity. It lowers the academic environment. It takes away from what we're trying to accomplish. What you can have is water, coffee, or soda, but my preference is going to be that that's going to be under your chair, behind you, not in the table, because we're going to be in close quarters to each other. And same thing with computer use. It becomes difficult for us because there's not much room. But I know that some of you have to navigate technology with what you're trying to present, but it's not going to be allowed around the table. And so you need to make sure that you have hard copies as appropriate. Okay, you won't be able to work from your computer. There's just not going to be room, and it distracts the engagement. Students bury their heads in their computers, and so again, I can't stress enough. No laptop, no computer, no smartphone. You won't be checking your email, your social media. You won't be updating Facebook and those kind of things during class. Do those during the breaks. So again, computers will not be allowed around the seminar table. I can tell when people don't watch this video. They double space their papers. They go over the word limit. They try to open their computers around the table. There's so many of these little details they just don't do. So do yourself a favor and make sure you follow these expectations. All right, late policy. Everybody saw what it is. All right. So you're about a week away from the class starting, and so you can see you're starting off the bat reading Thistleton's Systematic Theology, thinking about the topic that you want to write on, think further about the topic in that week, and then finalize your topic. And then you're writing your paper the month of February for a couple weeks, then you're editing, and then you're uploading your paper on March 6th, and then you're reading your classmates' papers as well. Those of you that get done earlier, do it. All right, the earlier you upload your paper, one, more people are going to read it. And by the way, when you're reading, make sure you take good notes, so questions to ask. And you're going to get better interaction. All right, so don't wait till March 6th. If you can get it done earlier, get it done earlier. In the modular week, you'll seminar paper. You'll be leading discussions on Thistleton if you're called on to do that, and you'll be defending your personal theology. Sometimes, again, that's an individual. Sometimes it's in group. Just depends on the different ways that I'll do that. After the class is over, then you're reading your required list. Generate a list of your theologians. Think about your theologians and finish your 400 pages in the companion. Decide on your theologian. Do your primary research. You're reading the theologian, not what people say about the theologian. Okay. Finalize your paper and upload that. One of the things that students point out is that their time here, they didn't get to study much on theologians, and this gives them a chance to do that. And so I found students quite enjoyed that assignment. Okay, so there's some bibliography listed for you. It's kind of general, but it does help you on some of the issues and some of the specific theologians. Grading rubrics are helpful for you in terms of what you might be expected. You can make sure you take some time to read the grading rubric on the presentation and questions for the presenter. It helps you know what I'm looking for in your paper, seminar paper 1, seminar paper 2. All right. Well, what I generally find is that students enjoy this class. This is what I've heard from students that graduate, is this was in some ways their most enjoyable class. It was very intimidating at the very beginning, but you're going to get to find out what you know and what you don't know, and you're out there on the high wire, and you're walking. There's no net below you there, but I enjoy this class. It's kind of the highlight of my academic year each year to get to teach it. I learn from you all, and I look forward to learning more from you all. So jump into it. If you have general questions about the class, I can help you with those, but again, when it comes to topics, you're completely on your own. I'm not going to respond to those, as I've mentioned. So, well, I look forward to being with you in March. And those of you that have had me in class, I saw a number of the Greek students there. Look forward to reconnecting with you all. The Michigan students and the Chicago students coming together will be fun to see what each have learned throughout their studies. And if you have any other questions, feel free to email me. My email contact information is there on the syllabus.